A crow lands beside the body of another crow. For a moment, it does nothing. It doesn't eat. It doesn't call. It simply stands there, watching. Then another crow arrives. And another. Soon, a small gathering forms around the dead bird. The scene is strangely familiar. Not because it resembles something from nature, but because it resembles something from us. A vigil. A funeral. A moment of attention directed towards something that will never move again. Most people believe animals don't understand death. They experience it. They witness it. They survive it. But understanding it? That is supposed to belong to us. Humans are often described as the only creatures aware of their own mortality. The only species capable of looking into the future and seeing the unavoidable conclusion waiting there. Death. It is one of the oldest stories we tell about ourselves. The line that separates humanity from everything else. But when scientists began observing animals more closely, that line started to blur. Because the natural world contains scenes that are difficult to explain. An elephant walks for miles across the African savanna, not searching for water, not searching for food, searching for bones. Researchers have repeatedly documented elephants returning to the remains of dead relatives years after death. They touch the skulls with their trunks. They stand silently, sometimes for hours. They show little interest in the bones of other species. But when the bones belong to elephants, something changes. The behavior becomes deliberate, focused, personal. Scientists still debate exactly what elephants understand in these moments. But one thing became impossible to ignore. The dead are not meaningless to them. And elephants are not alone. Chimpanzee mothers have been observed carrying deceased infants for days, sometimes weeks. Whales have pushed dead calves through the ocean long after all hope of recovery has vanished. Dolphins have supported lifeless companions at the water's surface. Again and again, animals behave as though something important has been lost. Not hidden. Not sleeping. Lost. Most people hear these stories and jump immediately to a conclusion. The animals must understand death, or they must not. But reality is rarely that simple. Because understanding death exists on a spectrum. A child may know that people died long before understanding that they themselves will die. One idea concerns others. The other concerns the self. And that distinction changes everything. The real question is not whether animals recognize death. The real question is whether they can recognize their own future death. Whether somewhere inside their minds exists the realization that one day they will no longer exist. To answer that question, scientists first had to investigate something even stranger. Time. Not clocks. Mental time. The ability to imagine a future that has not happened yet. Humans perform this act constantly. While sitting safely in a room, we can imagine tomorrow, next year, old age, our final moments. We travel through time without moving. Many researchers once believed this ability belonged almost entirely to humans. Then the evidence began to accumulate. Ravens hide food and remember where they placed it months later. Some primates save tools for future problems. Certain birds prepare for events they have never directly experienced before. Suddenly, animals no longer appeared trapped inside the present moment. They were planning, anticipating, preparing. And if a creature can imagine tomorrow, an uncomfortable question emerges. How far can tomorrow extend? Can it reach old age? Can it reach death? Scientists still do not know. But the uncertainty itself is revealing. Because the closer researchers examine animal intelligence, the harder it becomes to identify where instinct ends and awareness begins. Humans prefer clear categories. Nature prefers gradients. The human mind did not appear suddenly. It emerged through millions of years of evolution. Every trait we possess existed in simpler forms before us. Memory, emotion, social bonds, problem-solving, self-awareness. None appeared overnight. Which means the awareness of mortality, if it evolved at all, may not be uniquely human. It may exist in fragments, in degrees, in shadows. Perhaps not as a spoken thought, not as language, not as philosophy, but as something older, something deeper, a feeling. And feelings can be surprisingly powerful. Consider fear. Most animals experience fear, not because they understand death philosophically, but because evolution shaped them to avoid it. Every heartbeat in the wild exists beneath constant threat. Predators, disease, starvation, injury. The natural world is not designed for comfort. It is designed for survival. A gazelle running from a lion is not contemplating mortality, yet its entire nervous system is organized around avoiding it. In a strange sense, every living creature behaves as though life matters, even if it cannot explain why. This raises a disturbing possibility. Perhaps the roots of mortality awareness do not begin with abstract thought. Perhaps they begin with attachment, because death only becomes meaningful when something can be lost. And animals lose things. They lose offspring, partners, family members, social companions. Researchers studying primates have documented signs of grief that appear remarkably familiar. Withdrawal, reduced appetite, changes in behavior, periods of inactivity. Scientists are careful not to project human emotions onto animals, yet the observations remain difficult to dismiss. Something happens after loss, something measurable, something real. And suddenly the question becomes much larger than death itself, because understanding mortality requires understanding consciousness. What does it mean to be aware? What does it mean to have a self? What does it mean to exist as an individual moving through time? These questions remain among the greatest mysteries in science, not because answers are unavailable, but because consciousness is the one thing studying itself. The observer and the observed are the same, and nowhere is this mystery more apparent than in humanity. Humans often define themselves by their awareness of death, yet most people spend their lives avoiding that awareness. We make plans, build careers, start families, construct civilizations, not because death is absent from our minds, but because it is present. The future is always there, waiting, silent, invisible. Every culture ever created has attempted to negotiate with mortality, through religion, through legacy, through stories, through monuments, even through science. Much of human civilization can be understood as a response to a single realization. One day, this ends. And perhaps that is the true difference between us and other animals. Not that we understand death, but that we cannot stop understanding it. A wolf may encounter death as an event. Humans encounter it as an idea. And ideas can haunt a mind far longer than any predator. Yet even that distinction may not be permanent. The more we learn about animal minds, the more uncertain our assumptions become. The boundary separating human awareness from animal awareness appears less like a wall and more like a horizon. The closer we move toward it, the farther it seems to recede. Perhaps animals know they are going to die. Perhaps they don't. The evidence remains incomplete. But maybe that is not the most important discovery. Maybe the deeper revelation is that mortality is not merely a human problem. It is a biological one. A reality woven into every living thing. Every creature that hunts, every creature that flees, every creature that protects its young, every creature struggling, however briefly, against the same ending. And somewhere tonight, in a forest, an ocean, a desert, or a frozen plain, another animal will pause beside the body of one of its own. It may not understand death the way we do. It may not imagine the future. It may not contemplate existence beneath the stars. But for a moment, it will stop. It will look. And something in that silence will feel familiar. Because beneath intelligence, beneath language, beneath civilization itself, there exists a truth shared by every living thing. Life recognizes when life is gone. And perhaps the most unsettling possibility of all is this. The universe may have begun becoming aware of death long before humans ever arrived to ask the question.